Hello and welcome to Corbitt's Comments. Today I'm commenting on the subject of leadership. Today I want to talk about the concept of mission first, people always. Now, as you can tell by looking at me, I've been around a while. What you may not know is that besides having a civilian ministry, I've also served 27 years in the Army, with 20 of those years as a National Guard chaplain. And just for the record, before I was a chaplain, I was a platoon leader and a division staff officer in the 25th Infantry Division on active duty, and a company commander and a group staff officer in the National Guard. Now, it was a long time ago, but I still do remember what it was like to be in charge of lots of soldiers with lots of potential and lots of problems. Back when I was a company commander, we had a young soldier he always seemed to be in the wrong place at the wrong time and in the wrong uniform. I will call him Smith for our purposes today. My first sergeant would correct him and say, "Smith, it isn't rocket science to get this right." One day, my first sergeant came to me and said, "Sir, you know Smith, right?" And I said, "Yeah, so?" Top went on, "You know how he's always messing things up, right?" And I again said, "Yeah, so?" My first sergeant continued with, "And you know how I always tell him that being a good soldier isn't rocket science." At this point, I was starting to get a little impatient because I had a lot of stuff going on, and I went on, though, and said, "Yes, I know that." Now, Top always liked to stretch out a good story, and he said, "Well, did you know that he's a student at Louisiana State University?" And I said, "No. Please get to the point." Well, my first sergeant broke out into a huge grin and said, "Well, he's studying aeronautical engineering." I just looked at him and he said, "Sir, you don't get it, do you? He is a rocket scientist." I just shook my head, because you can't make this stuff up. I mean, really. But now, as I think back to my days as an ROTC cadet back in the 70s, yes, the 1970s, I've been reminded of a poster I saw displayed in a Fort Benning, Georgia barracks back in those days. It was just a poster on the wall, but it has a lasting impact on my life in my service in the Army and my civilian ministry as well. Now, that poster was very simple, and it only had 4 words: mission first, people always. It would be hard for me to describe the importance of those 4 little words on my life, but let me try. Because, see, these are 2 wings of the same airplane. One of our biggest needs is for balance in our lives and our work and our leadership. You see, airplanes have 2 wings for a reason. They need both wings to be able to fly straight and fly true. When I was a young boy and I'd get upset about something, my mom would always tell me to straighten up and fly right. Well, you can't fly straight and you can't fly right if you're out of balance. And this idea of mission first, people always, gives us the balance we need in our lives and in our leadership. Now, this motto begins by reminding us that we have a mission to accomplish. Now, in the National Guard, we are to defend our country from all enemies, foreign and domestic, and also support the civil authorities in our state in times of crisis. If we don't accomplish this mission, then we have no reason to exist. We have a purpose, and we need to carry out that purpose. Churches have a purpose, and they need to carry out that purpose too. In the National Guard, the government of the United States and the government of our state and the citizens of our state need us to accomplish our mission. And the people of our community needs us to accomplish our mission as churches. So our airplane of life must place the wing of mission first. We must put our mission first. And this idea of mission first not only applies in our military careers and in our ministries, but also in our personal lives. We have a mission to pay our debts. We have a mission to raise our children. We have a mission to love our spouses. We have a mission to provide for those who rely upon us. And we must accomplish these missions because people are relying on us. Although we must put mission first, we must also understand that we can't accomplish that mission without people. Everything in life involves people. The Army, for example, is the most personnel intensive of all the armed forces. We've got an abundance of high-tech equipment, and we do have many installations, and, we have many other pieces of equipment that we rely upon, but the core of our force is our people, and we cannot do our job without our people. It is our soldiers who drive the trucks and fire the artillery pieces and operate high-tech equipment in the cyber warfare arena. It's our soldiers who maintain our training areas and ranges and barracks and armories, and without soldiers, we have no army. And without soldiers, we cannot accomplish our mission. Therefore, it is incumbent upon leaders in the Army to always take care of people. Also, that's the same thing in business and in our personal lives. And not only our people at work, but our people at home, in our communities, in our churches, in our schools. Taking care of people is essential so that we can accomplish our mission. But it's also essential because it is the right thing to do. Let me put it this way. If we just focus on our mission, then we become bureaucrats. If we just focus on people, we become politicians. We must have both wings to fly this airplane straight, and it's not as easy as it sounds. Now, as a chaplain, it would be easy for me to always encourage you to put people first, soldiers first. As a minister, I'd say we must always put people first. But there's a reason why we have equipment. There's a reason why we have installations. There's a reason why we have computers. There's a reason why we have staff members on churches, and in the Army National Guard we have full-time employees. Those things are there so that our people can have the things they need to do the mission. Everything we do affects the people in our lives. And so it would be easy for me to say that we need to focus solely on taking care of people because, of course, that's the mission of the chaplain corps and of ministers. A chaplain once told me about a soldier who looked at him with a smile and said, "Chappie, you got the best job in the Army." Now, this chaplain was a little cautious because he'd been around the block a time or two, and he asked what the soldier meant. And he said, with an even bigger grin, "It's because you get to take care of soldiers for a living." Now, that's a true statement, and that's a good thing. But it would be short-sighted of me, however, to say that all we need to do is take care of people. And in truth, there is a trap that leaders can fall into. So let me refer to a couple of well-known movies to illustrate this point. In the movie Gettysburg, Robert E. Lee makes a very powerful speech to General James Longstreet that describes how hard it is to get this balance correct. He said to Longstreet, "Soldiering has one great trap. To be a good soldier, you must love the Army. To be a good commander, you must be willing to order the death of the thing that you love by sending them to action and making them fight." Of course. In Saving Private Ryan, the characters of Captain Miller and Master Sergeant Horvath discuss this trap also. Captain Miller said, "When you end up killing one of your men, you see, you tell yourself it happened so that you can save the lives of 2 or 3 or 10 others, maybe 100. And that's how simple it is. That's how you rationalize making the choice between the mission and the man." Master Sergeant Horvath then replied, "Except this time the mission is a man." Getting those wings balanced is hard. Now, I will admit that I saw once on YouTube a video of a stunt pilot who was flying his airplane in an air show. And during this display, he lost his left wing of his airplane. Now, the engine of that stunt plane was so powerful, he was basically able to hold it up on its prop until he could land it. It was an amazing thing to see, but it is the exception that proves the rule. Almost every other kind of airplane but the kind that he was flying would have crashed and burned after losing that wing. And we've also known leaders and pastors and other people that had one wing of their leadership much bigger than the other. We've all had bosses and leaders who focused so greatly on the mission that they didn't take care of their people very well at all. We've also known bosses and leaders that love to take care of people to the point where they forget to accomplish the mission. Usually, the tenure of these leaders is not very long, and it usually doesn't end very well. The truth is, we must put mission first, but we must take care of people always. We must pursue balance in both of these areas. Mission first, people always. Now, I know we've all known bosses and leaders who had one wing of their airplane more developed than the other. But, they seem to do okay because maybe, like that stunt plane, their personalities were so big and so strong that they were able to carry the day even though it should not have worked. We've also worked for bosses and leaders who, by the force of their very personality, was able to accomplish the mission even though they didn't take care of their people. We've also known bosses and leaders who took care of people so well that they overlooked the mission. And sometimes their people loved them so much that they went and did the mission for their boss by going the extra mile to accomplish their mission. We probably don't see as many of the latter type leader as the former, but here's the truth. Once you've worked for a leader, a boss, a commander, a pastor, anyone who is out of balance, you never want to do it again. Like the saying goes, it was real and it was fun, but it wasn't real fun. And many people would rather find something else to do after such an experience than do that all over again. There is no escaping the central truth. We must both accomplish the mission and take care of people if we're going to be effective leaders, in or out of the Army. We have to balance the airplane of our service by making sure both of our wings are sound and well maintained. Well, how do we get this right? Well, the good news is we can access help. First, we need to seek wisdom. I would urge you to seek wisdom. And I will tell you that if we ask of our Lord, He will give us wisdom. Because without wisdom, every leader will struggle to get their wings balanced. We've heard it said, when in charge, take charge, and that is great advice to anyone in leadership positions. But I'd also say this, a better solution is, when in charge, seek wisdom, and when it is revealed, take charge and execute. Again, our God loves to give us wisdom if we ask. Second, do the right thing. A colleague, when he was in the Inspector General's office, often told leaders that there is no right way to do the wrong thing. And a former boss of mine always said, do what's right even when no one is looking. Both of these men gave great advice to leaders. Next, remember that loyalty is a two-way street. The Army has a list of values, and the very first one of those values is loyalty. And leaders expect their subordinates to be loyal to them, but we almost must remember that loyalty is a two-way street. Leaders must be loyal to those whom they supervise just as much as they expect them to be loyal to their leaders. During the Civil War, after William T. Sherman captured Atlanta, he cut loose from his lines of communication and made a bold thrust across Georgia to Savannah. He eviscerated the Confederate war effort. He really did. He just destroyed the supply lines for the Confederacy. In doing this, he accepted a huge amount of risk, but he could do that because he knew Ulysses S. Grant, his boss, had his back. After the war, Sherman wrote Grant saying, "Wherever I was, I knew you thought of me, and if I needed you, you would come." Sherman had the confidence he needed to perform at a high level because Grant was loyal to him just as much as Sherman was loyal to Grant. If we want those whom we supervise to excel, we need to be as loyal to them as we expect them to be loyal to us. Finally, we need to find a mentor, because we need to find someone who is living a balanced life and allow them to mentor us. We know we should lead by example, but we should also follow those who set a good example for us. I was fortunate as a young chaplain, as a young minister, as a young Army officer, to have some great early mentors in my career. And you know what? When I imitated them, I discovered I could be successful. Paul told the church at Corinth, "Therefore I urge you, imitate me as I imitate Christ." And 3 John 1:11 says, "Beloved, do not imitate what is evil, but what is good." Imitation is the greatest form of flattery, and we need to imitate those who demonstrate that they're worthy of our flattery, those people who have balanced wings. Let us learn from those who keep their leadership in the correct balance. Finally, let me remind us that all of our efforts in the Army, in our nation, in our churches, in our communities, we're only one generation away from extinction. We need to prepare the next generation to take our place. None of us is going to be here forever. And if our nation, our communities, our churches, our army is going to thrive in the future, it is up to us to prepare those who will take our places. Paul taught us in Timothy 2:2, or 2 Timothy 2:2, "And the things that you have heard from me amongst many witnesses, commit these to faithful men who will be able to teach others also." We are not finished when we can implement mission first, people always. We are only mission complete when we can help the next generation to learn to balance the wings of their airplane as well. As I said from the beginning, I'm an old soldier. I'm an old leader. I've only got a couple more months before I retire from the Army. I've got years left in the civilian ministry. But I'm facing the fact there's some things I will never get to do again. I'll never get to jump out of an airplane again or fly in a Black Hawk helicopter. I'll never get to eat in a dining facility or go hang out with soldiers on the range. So my military career is coming to an end, and my record is pretty much written in that regard. And I pray that I've been able to help others to live by mission first, people always. I commend that approach to you also, because you know it really isn't rocket science after all. Thanks for watching. Every blessing. I'm Dr. Otis Corbitt.